Hi, kia ora, good evening. So, I just every few hours I do a checkup to see what's going on with Anne's murder investigation, and I feel sick to my stomach because oh, hang on, sorry, because I was right. I think there's a couple of things that the police got wrong that I'm going to fix now. But from my preliminary investigation, remember I said that I think he hit her, and he was there to change her mind about something. He was sent there by an older male, someone older than him, who was sending her there to get her to change her mind about something, to threaten her with something. They keep saying, oh, he's got learning disabilities. But, I mean, he got his driver's license. He lived a normal life. So we're going to go over it. So remember I said I felt like he struck her and panicked, and then just hit her and hit her and hit her and hit her and hit her. Remember I said I was getting pain over my at the left side of my head, I think I said, and my eye and my jaw. Apparently she died from horrendous blunt force trauma, and that's what I said. Remember I said blunt force trauma. Keep saying trauma. It's not even, I mean, trauma. Blunt force trauma, I said. I said he was hitting her and hitting her and hitting her and hitting her. Remember I said she was crawling? I saw her crawling. Apparently there was a trail of blood, and she was found in her kitchen, and they think that she maybe heard someone at the back door and that, but she said the confrontation started in the living room. He may have come rushing through the kitchen while she was in the living room, and it started there, and then she maybe went to rush out through the kitchen, and that's when he, had to stop her and hit her or whatever. But she's adamant that the two of them met in the kitchen, in the living room, in those codes, and it looked like I wish I bloody erased it, but because I got scared. But I said it looked like he hit her with like one of those giant restaurant-sized pepper mills. Like it looked like a big wooden pepper mill thing, or like the leg of a chair, but like a heavy wooden object. And I didn't blimmin' say it, and I'm kicking myself now. But I have no proof otherwise than my own honesty. But yeah, blunt force trauma, apparent trauma. So I was right. And she opened the door and let him in. She's adamant she opened it. She maybe thought he was somebody else. Like she was expecting somebody else and thought he was who she was expecting. But she's adamant the confrontation started in the living room. And then I saw her crawling, and they said there was a trail of blood. So she was crawling. She was getting herself, trying to get herself away, and he panicked. Now, also remember I said the reason why it was done was something to do, it was political. It was something to do with her supporting a political party, or her opinion on a political party, because her opinion held sway. Well, her last interview, she was coming out in support of Nigel Farage and the Reform Party. She was supporting them. She was defending Nigel. And remember my dream that I had, where I was sitting with Nigel and the King, and she was in the cathedral in the golden robe, And when I had that dream, I said, she's letting everyone know that the king and Nigel had nothing to do with it, with what happened to her, and that maybe it was done because because she's pro-monarchy and pro-Farage, is what I said. She was also anti-war with Russia. And now they've tried to say he was found with Russia and communist information. I'm telling you, the police are covering it up. Because the thing is, Keir Starmer's the one that went to Russian school in Czechoslovakia. They're the neo-Nazi Communist Party. They're the Socialist Party. Tony Blair is a socialist, a Marxist. It's the Labour Party that are the communists. And Russia are no longer communist. Russia are considered a federal democracy. So Russia don't even have anything to do with communism anymore. And they're trying to say, oh, he was, a Russian communist, but Russia's not communist anymore. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot. And it's everything I said. She's anti-Burnham. Is that his name? The one that they think is going to take over the Labour Party. She was anti-him, pro-reform, and, talking about these elections coming up in, I don't know, did they say Clacton? Is that London? Remember I said there was a connection to London? So, judging by everything that I've seen so far, they put him up to it, to shut her up, to stop her from coming out, because Labour can't afford to lose their elections. Labour are doing so abysmal, they can't afford to lose their election. Donald Trump is doing the exact same thing. They tried to accuse Lindsey Graham's death on Russia, and now, because remember I said they play by the same handbook, with the elections coming up in America, Lindsey Graham gets offed, and they say he was poisoned by Russia, even though poisoning, as I pointed out, is done by, it's a up close and personal attack. People who have nothing to do with each other don't tend to get into the poisoning game. The poisoning game, statistically, is more where you're up close and personal with them, where you have a personal relationship with them. And Lindsey Graham didn't have a personal relationship with Putin, but he did with Donald Trump and Zelensky, and both of which are known to poison people. I showed the ICC evidence that Zelensky used poison to poison the drinking water of Russian soldiers and killed them. Trump as well, and because, with me, they like to poison people. And so you're poisoned by people who know you, not by people who don't know you. So then they lose two politicians at the exact same time, both of who, the conspiracies was that it was murder, that it was politically motivated, and both of them pointed the fingers at Russia. But they messed up on the details, and I would even put it to you, because Lindsey Graham was on Air Force One at that NATO summit. The reason why Trump didn't fly back on that plane is because they had to clean it up first to cover their tracks. Now they're trying to say that he had some heart condition, but there are a lot of poisons, as I pointed out, that can cause cardiac arrest. There's a cover-up. And they, because Trump approved sanctions against Russia, and Whitcomb was anti-war with Russia, she was trying to fight to take Britain back to traditional values. She was pro-monarchy. She's everything that Labour and Trump and the coalition of Epsteiners and that she stands for everything that they're against. The monarchy, Britain being British, no wars, support the monarchy, Andy Burnham. She was anti-Andy Burnham. She was basically saying that Labour have destroyed, they're destroying everything. They're destroying everything that's good in Britain. So they had to shut her up. And now, the police were saying it wasn't political. It wasn't a politically motivated attack. It wasn't, what did they say? Premeditated. But it was, because he was put up to it. And now the cops are saying, yeah. So I was right. I've been right about everything. The only thing I'd say is that she opened the door to him. She either was expecting him, or she thought he was somebody else and opened the door to him. And they were in the living room when the confrontation started. He may have pushed her back into the living room, but she's adamant that the confrontation started in the living room. And then, of course, she was found in the kitchen, and they said with the trail of blood and horrendous head injuries. Because remember I said he struck her, and then he panicked and just hit her and hit her and hit her and hit her and hit her. And he was angry. Now, the thing is, where they've screwed up on the details, if they've said he was found with pro-Russia communist material, but Anne Widdecombe was fully in support of peace with Russia. So if he'd killed her because he was pro-Russia, well, she was too. She was totally against this war with Russia. She wanted everyone to go back to their corners and let Britain be Britain and live in peace and go back to traditional Christian values and stuff, which is everything that Russia stands for. So it doesn't make sense that they would kill her because he was pro-Russian, because she technically was too. She was in support of everything that Russia's trying to do, like everyone go back to their corners and just get on with their lives. So it doesn't make sense. She very publicly, I can even show you interviews where she talked about that she was not in support of what Labour was doing in regards to Ukraine. That there were better ways to deal with this, and going to war wasn't the answer. And as I keep saying, with these elections and stuff, Starmer and Trump need a war. And because they play by the same handbook, what do I keep saying? Blame Russia. Target Russia. They did it in World War One. They did it in World War Two. With Franz Ferdinand's assassination, with Tsar Nicholas's assassination, Wilhelm, I can't remember his last name. I can't think right now. Because I'm in shock. I feel sick. I was right about everything. She trusted me with those codes. She trusted me to see. Wilhelm, it's in the Teresa Lubienska thing. So the fact that he was found with Russia communist stuff, and Labour are technically the communists, and then to suggest that they killed her because he was a communist and pro-Russia, she was pro-Russia as well. So they would have had things in common politically if that was the case. And how many what do they call them? Special needs, learning disabilities. How many people do you know with learning disabilities have strong communist views? I've worked with people with learning disabilities, and you don't get into too many conversations with them, in regards to Marxism or socialism or communism or neo-Nazism or anything like that. They tend to talk about their pets and their favourite TV shows and what they're going to have for dinner and, the games that they play. So they set Putin up to go to war. It's everything I said, because they did it in World War One. They assassinated people to blame on Russia, to start trouble in the Middle East and blame, pin it all on the Jews. Oh, the Jews made us do it. In the meantime, America's funding it all. So they screwed up a little there on the detail. And if the King's listening, Your Majesty, you need to look into Keir Starmer and his connection to Anne Widdecombe's murder. It would be an assassination, because history dictates before a world war they assassinate people of political or royal standing. And it's no coincidence that she died and Graham died. And the conspiracies are that Russia was responsible, where poisoning isn't Russia's MO, regardless of what people think. That Litvinenko murder, and that had nothing to do with Russia, it was all personal. The poisoner's handbook, the psychological makeup of a poisoner is they're up close and personal with their targets. Statistically, you're more likely to be poisoned by somebody you know and somebody that you have contact with. So that rules out Russia. And if he was caught with communist material, Russia's no longer a communist country. So, but Great Britain is. And to say caught with Russian material, if he was pro-Russia, I'm pro-Russia. Anne Widdecombe was anti-war with Russia. So that rules out that it had anything to do with Russia. Because you don't kill people who are fighting in your corner. So Starmer's trying to kickstart a war. Trump's trying to kickstart a war. They're trying to kickstart a war and blame Russia, because of the World War One, World War Two playbook. But it's not working. And the markets, the stock market's crashing. The economies are doing worse and worse and worse, because what happened was they all stole from their countries, didn't they? They stole everyone's gold, they stole the wealth, they're stealing everyone's money, they're stealing everyone's pensions under the guise of, got to make cuts, got to make the cutbacks. But it's because they're stealing all the money, because what happens is before they start a war, they tank the economy so that they can make their money back funding the war. And, getting all the best military contracts in that. That's how they make their money back. You end up paying $100 for a loaf of bread, like in the Depression between World War One and World War Two. It's what they do. They tank the economy. But what's happened is it's not going the way they thought it was going to go. They stupidly thought that people were going to love what Starmer was doing, going to love what Trump was doing, and they're not. It's all backfiring on them because they played everyone dirty. And God doesn't appreciate it when you blame innocent people for your crimes. And like I said, they keep working with the same playbook. Assassinate people, pin it on Russia, cause trouble in the Middle East, and then eventually say it was the Jews that made us do it. It's the Jews that pushed us over the edge. In the meantime, it's America funding it all. Because what happens is America funds these wars and they start the wars. It's been known throughout history. I've been able to document it. I've proven it. I took it to the ICC and the King. America, the CIA, nowadays Palantir, come along and they instigate the war. They start the war and they fund it and feed everyone the weapons, so then they can watch to see how the weapons work, so they can tweak them and make them better and more powerful. They start a war to use the sides that are in the war as guinea pigs in order to be able to study how well their weapons and stuff are doing. And then they spend all their money upgrading their defense systems and that, and then start another war. And then, so you know how it's Donald Trump's sons that are, and Palantir, which is owned by Trump, paying for all these drones and stuff that Ukraine are using to bomb Russia. They're studying Ukraine and how those bombs, how those drones are being used so that they can perfect them. It's a social experiment where they're murdering people under the guise of war so that they can better their weapons of war. But I saw it coming, and I documented it months ago, weeks ago. I've been saying it for weeks. So they messed up on the detail, they messed up on the facts, because they're communists, and Starmer went to communist camp, and we know that Russia, what was Donald Trump's communist name when he was something, the red something or the something red, what was Trump's communist name? He had a communist name. They're the communists. Nothing Putin does, nothing he's done as president is communist in any way, shape or form. The federal Democrats. Russia is now a federal democratic country. It's America, Great Britain, France, Germany, Ukraine. They're the ones that are communists. You will own nothing. You will have nothing and you will be happy. That's them. So they messed up on the details. Because what you have to understand is narcissists will always blame you for the things they're guilty of. And so they tried to say, oh, he did it because he's pro-Russia, pro-communist, but they're the communists and Putin's not a communist. So that it's like they tried to hurry. They had to stop her from having this interview on Channel 5 because she was saying things that were going to do damage in these elections, because her interview was to do with the elections in, I think they said Clacton, or coming up in Clacton or something. Is Clacton in London? Because remember I said this had something to do with London, that her murder had something to do with a connection with London. And if he didn't follow orders, it was going to come back on him. So I was right. And I'm still right in the fact that I said their handbookers blame Russia. So they didn't listen to what I was saying. They didn't listen to my warnings. And they just walked right into it. They walked right into it. When I said they're going to start World War III, what did I say? They're going to try and start World War III and they'll use Iran as the back door to get to Russia. And that if you look at history, they assassinate people, they blame it on Russia, they start trouble in the Middle East, and then eventually say, oh, no, it's the Jews that made us do it. When you look at the history of it all, and I've been able to prove it, it's America and Wall Street that were funding it. They funded World War I, they funded Hitler. The German bank wouldn't give Hitler the money. They said you can't take money you can't pay back. So Germany's been paying America back for all the money that they lent them from World War I and World War II. And because it's a lot of money with interest, Germany goes along with whatever Trump tells them to. He just gave NATO a ton of money. So, yeah, the devil is in the detail. And yeah, they've messed up. It's like, in them trying to hurry, pulling off what they wanted to pull off, they tripped up on the detail. And Anne came and she let me know. And what I know, she had a door camera, but she's adamant in those codes. She was expecting him, or she thought from the first contact, it was implied that she was expecting him, or she was expecting someone, and maybe she thought who he was who she was expecting. And that the confrontation started in the living room. And the living room and the kitchen were like joined, because he hit her, and I think maybe she went to leave, like flee the room. And maybe that, because if the confrontation started in the living room, and then he hit her, and then she went to go out the back door, obviously with the nearest exit being the kitchen, being in the room next door, it would make perfect sense to what I saw, and her crawling. But I think he struck her with his hand first, like he smacked her with his hand or something. I think that's what I said in the first video. He hit her with a bare hand or a closed fist or something, so there wouldn't have been any blood in the living room. And then, of course, when she went to flee, he panicked and thought, shit, if I don't stop her, I'm going to get into trouble. And then that's when he pulled out the wooden thing, which to me looked like a pepper mill, or, one of those large ones they have in the restaurants, or like a chair leg or something, which makes no sense from the CCTV footage that he had it in his pocket when he drove nearly 300 miles to her house. He had it in his pocket, which makes no sense, because wouldn't you put it in the driver's seat or your boot or something? I want to know whether he was using ChatGPT or Grok or anything in his house. And what did I say to you, though? That I have a feeling the police are going to try and cover stuff up. Because, same with the FBI with Graham's, they were on it too fast, like they were waiting for it to happen. And the whisper in the wind is, a lot of people are saying they were on this too fast, like they were expecting something to happen, like they were waiting for it to happen. And that's usually Secret Service, that's usually Prime Minister. And Keir Starmer does whack people, just like Trump does. So he needs to be investigated. But the thing is, it would be having to come from the king, because as I've told the king before, he can't trust his own police, he can't trust his own military, he can't trust his own Secret Service. The only person he's been able to trust in this whole thing is me and our Anne. And I'm so proud and honoured that she trusted me with those codes. But I'm telling you now, there's more to this story, and it leads all the way to number 10. And I think that they acted in a hurry to try and shut her up, because she was so well respected for her opinions, and she was pro monarchy, pro Britain for the British, pro Brexit, and Labour can't afford to lose any more seats. And because now that Starmer's getting ready to go, and they're going to have a general election, because the British are not going to stand for anyone just walking in to be Prime Minister without being elected again, because that happened with May and Brown, was it? And people haven't forgotten how that ended. But I think that if they dug a little deeper, they would find that all roads lead back to Keir Starmer and number 10. And I was right about everything. And they really do use a playbook. And they really messed up on the details with this in regards to blaming Russia, America, and Britain. The devil is in the detail. They tripped up on the details. They didn't think any of this through. And then, of course, I've come along and seen it all and gone, oh, that's what they did wrong. There's the mistake they made. That's a lie, blah, blah, blah. I said that was going to happen. She said that's what happened, blah, 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 blah. So I got in there first. Don't blame Russia. You were told, Starmer. You were told time and time and time again, leave Russia alone. And now, God willing, you're going to end up being investigated for the murder of the assassination of Anne Widdecombe. Because it's an assassination when the person is, political or royal. Otherwise, it's murder. So everything I said when I did that first read, I was correct. The dream, yeah. When I posted the dream, I've been correct about everything. So, if anyone in the royal household is listening, King Charles, this could be your redemption arc. Investigate Keir Starmer in regards to the murder of Anne Widdecombe. Get people involved in the investigation that you trust with your life, because there's very few people out there taking care of this country for you that you can trust with your life, other than me and Anne, but she's no longer with us, but she's helping from the ethers, as is your mother and grandmother and that. And, with that dream with the Queen Mother, what did she say? We stand by Putin. The Queen Mother was letting us know what was coming. When she said they're not going to do to Mr. Putin what they did to us, and remember, they were all poisoned. They were all assassinated. They were all taken out without God's instruction. And then what did she say? Be careful where you tread, Charles, because the landmines are about to blow up, she said, and mud sticks. So, if anyone listening to this has any sort of connection to King Charles, he needs to get his own, what are they called? The King's Army? Because remember, the King's Army are the ones that are responsible for, they're the ones who have precedence over the Met Office in London. The King's Army can arrest people from the Met Office. They have jurisdiction over London. So he maybe needs to get the King's Army involved in looking into a police cover-up into the assassination of Anne. And I think you will very quickly, even though it might be buried in things, I think you will very quickly find evidence that the killer was put up to it by people connected to number 10. It just depends on how honest the police are going to be. And even my boy said, we all know the West Yorkshire Police and that aren't known for protecting the innocent, because look what they did to me. So, yep, I was right. I've put links in the description box below, including proving that Russia are no longer a communist country. The communist countries are France, Germany, Ukraine, America, the United Kingdom, and Trump and, well, they're all, Zelensky, von der Leyen, Merz, Macron, Trump and Starmer all have family members connected to communist and neo-Nazi parties and the KKK and the Freemasons. So, whereas Putin, no. So I got to defend the truth. I can't let a lie get out there. And it looks like I was being set up to get all of this in place because the Queen Mother and the dead knew what they were about to try and pin on Putin in order to take the king down and stop elections. Trump and Starmer are desperately trying to start this war before these elections kick off, which is why Trump's about to commit election fraud again. He's trying to claim that he's going to have, that he's technically third term president before he dies. He wants it marked that he broke the laws of the Constitution, that he was above the law and was the first third term president before he dies, because Donald Trump is terminally ill. He's dying. And so he's trying to, you know how he said he gave instructions on what to do if anything happens to him, in case Iran take him out. He's dying. He's rotting from the inside out. And so he's trying to get a whole lot of things done before he kicks the bucket. Because if they don't achieve this, then that's the end of the world as we know it. And what have I said? All the, they need to stop the second coming. They need to, they need to stop their world from going down the drain. The end of the world as we know it is horrible. It's been run by greedy, vicious, nasty, sinful predators, perverted predators. And if that world is coming to an end, what do we get in exchange? Traditional family values again, where couples are getting married for love, where they're raising children in a house where they can afford to have them, where jobs are plentiful, where we're breathing clean air again, where we have sunshine and all the proper seasons again, no more disasters. I mean, we might have a couple that are actually Papatūānuku, but they're not going to be man-made disasters. Kids are going to grow up in, two-parent households, and there won't be overconsumption and greed and gluttony and lust and arrogance and egos in that. That's the end of the world as we know it. And then what we get in its place is jobs and, people falling in love for the right reason and having kids for the right reasons and being able to afford them when they have them, because jobs will be plentiful and the air is clean and the food is clean and everyone's living in peace and harmony for the most part. And even God says that in Revelation. That's what's coming. There'll be no more death, because people will understand through my science, because remember, that's what I was here to teach everyone, the ancient prophecy, that death is only biological. People won't grieve the same way. They won't see life the same way. And that's what they're all trying to stop. So, yeah, they screwed up. The devil is in the detail, and they really messed up with this. So if anyone out there is in authority, especially connected to King Charles, if he's not listening himself, not that he would be listening, but you know what I mean, you need to investigate your Prime Minister into the assassination of Anne Widdecombe. And it's got something to do with Andy Burnham. And I think in the article it says Clacton, and I'm pretty sure Clacton is in London, and that's what she said. that her murder had something to do with a connection to London. I'm going to have a look on the map to see if Clacton's in London. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll have to reread the article, but I've put links in the description box and I'll put screenshots up as well. But you'll see it all there. I was right. Even when the police had arrested the wrong person and weren't saying anything and said it wasn't politically motivated and blah, blah, blah. And I said what I said and I pointed out and I said whoever was involved was an older male, older than him anyway. And yeah, all roads lead back to Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. If you look at what Anne was talking about in her last interview, it's pointing right at Keir Starmer and the Labour Party being responsible for her murder. And I genuinely believe the fact that even in that dream she was standing by Nigel Farage and the King, I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that her murder has quite deeply affected Nigel Farage, and they've all started trying to turn on him. And I was laughing and saying, well, I told him not to get involved with Trump and I told him this was going to backfire and he didn't listen. But the thing is, he doesn't deserve to be treated the way he's been treated, because it's like they purposefully turned the media against him. They turned the media against him, and it's like it's too strategic. Right, so we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and as soon as that happens, we'll do this, and then you come and do this, and then we'll get the media to say this, because remember, the media are owned by all the same people. And just like how they all turned on the royal family and tore the royal family apart, they're now trying to tear Reform apart by using Farage and Whitcomb as the scapegoats. But Anne saying, not even in death will I let you blame Nigel Farage, which shows how much love and respect she had for him. And it's obvious that he had the same amount of love and respect for her. You can tell that he's deeply affected by what happened to her. If, in an ideal world, if I wasn't wanting to head to America and all of that, I'd be saying to Reform, how about we fix it and take this to the elections the right way? But, I took that video about going to Scotland down. I would absolutely 100% go to Scotland. I won't have a problem with it. But I feel like I'm being called to, I feel like I'm being pulled towards America. And my sister said she doesn't care where we go as long as she's with me. But I said to her, I won't take you to America until it's safe. And if we have to stay here, then yeah, we'll go to Scotland. But I'm looking at it from a business perspective. If Great Britain doesn't sort itself out, and apparently Scotland's economy's not doing too well, Scotland's not as wonderful as it used to be. What I'm building would be more productive in America once Trump is removed. So at this point, I got to say, I've still got my eye on America. I would happily move to Scotland, like I would do it if that's where God says do it, but I don't know, I keep thinking it's America. Everything I'm building is suited for America. So we'll just have to wait and see, but I will not and I cannot let anybody blame any of this on Russia. They've tripped up on the detail, they've messed up on the details. And it's going to backfire. So, yeah, so what I would say is if anyone out there is in opposition to Labour and maybe has a connection to the King, I would request, could they please dig a little deeper and look into this, because I think they'll find very quickly that what happened to Anne is it's already pointing all the arrows at Keir Starmer and Labour, judging from her last interview. Okay? So I'm going to go now. But there you have it, they lied. And they're covering it up, between the FBI covering up how Graham died, and they were all happy to point the finger at him being poisoned until I came out and said, but the handbook of a poisoner says yada yada blah blah blah, and they're saying, oh yeah, no, it was aortic distortion or distension or whatever, he had a heart attack. But as I pointed out, there's a lot of things that can give you a heart attack. A lot of drugs and stuff they can give you. Even antidepressants and that can give you heart attacks. Antipsychotic medication and stuff, because remember, I almost had a heart attack when I was locked up. I've made many a video where I said I was too scared to go to sleep because I knew my heart was going to stop. And I got under the shower. Remember, when I knew my heart was going to give out, so I sat under the shower to wake myself up. And I really thought I was about to go. And then my phone rang and snapped me out of it. Nigeria saved my life that day. If I hadn't gotten that phone call, God knows what would have happened. So, yeah. So I'm going to go, but that's how it is. Links in the description box, and if anyone can get this to the King, I would highly recommend that he get his people to investigate Keir Starmer, confiscate his phones and laptops, and anyone in the Labour Party, anyone, the Met Office, the Met Office, the Met Police. Because the thing is, the reason why the King needs to be informed, the reason why the King has to look into this is because their sole purpose for doing all of this is so that the King is seen as a traitor by the people, and they force him to abdicate so they can hand Britain over to the EU. And Anne was anti-EU and pro-monarchy. So she's standing in the way of Labour achieving their communist goals of handing Great Britain over to the neo-Nazis, which is the complete antithesis of what Russia is, which is why they screwed up saying the killer was pro-Russia, pro-communist, because that's oxymoronic. That's like saying he's a vegetarian who only eats beef. So the King needs to be informed, please. People, someone needs to get it to the King, and Vladimir Putin needs support. And saying it, and the Queen Mother was saying it, and the Queen was saying it, and Tsar Nicholas was saying it, and Diana was saying it. And he might not have been loyal to me, or, might not have been loyal to what I was doing, but I can't sit by and let people pin these things on him. The same as I can't sit by and let them pin things on the King as well. Because right is right, truth is truth, and my brain won't sit any other way. I'm not like everybody else. I refuse to believe lies. I'm not a lazy thinker. I don't let the government and all of that think for me. I like to think for myself. I can't be told what to think. I can't be told what to do. And I refuse to believe for 1 minute what they're saying in regards to Putin and Anne and Graham. And I 100% believe the reason why Trump didn't fly back on that Air Force One is because Graham was on that plane when they went to NATO, and whatever they gave him was given to him on that plane. And they had to clear the plane, just in case. And then he started talking about his own mortality. And then he was talking about how Graham was like a family member. And then the next day he talks about what a horrible person he was, which, as I said this morning, it shows you how he really felt about him. He was holding a grudge. I did explained it all, because I've been investigating murders and unsolved stuff my entire life. And I see things, and I have an incredible attention to detail. And then, of course, when you put my ability to do quantum magnetics and that on top of it, where I can time jump and see things, so yeah. So anyway, I'm just putting it out there. And if you don't hear from me after 48 hours, send someone round to the flat. I keep saying that because the stuff I'm exposing is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and I know I'm pissing a lot of people off now because I'm exposing them for things that they're going to end up in prison for. But, I'm not suicidal. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I am 100% healthy. I have zero medical issues other than scar pain. I'm dealing with a bit of scar pain at the moment. I would give anything to be able to have access to some weed right now, but it is what it is. So that's it. I'm not suicidal. I love my life. I love my children. And if anything does happen to me, have my kids back and support my sister. That's all I ask. So otherwise, I think we're about to see the end of Trump, and Musk is falling on his ass. SpaceX has lost $1 trillion, and he's a trillionaire. Well, he was. He's not a trillionaire anymore. So it looks like God's tearing it all down to pave the way, and then I can move us to upstate New York. I was kind of hoping that somebody would join me, but he's vanished off the face of the earth. So I've had to move on without him. My Moon King. Who I thought was my Moon King. I've got to keep moving. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Not that I think he would have given up everything to come and be with us in America anyway, but anyway. So I'm going to go, and I shall speak to you later. We need to rally support around Vladimir Putin because he's fighting the whole world for us. He's fighting murderers and child abusers and people who assassinate old women in their kitchen because they're trying desperately to cover the fact that they're about to be exposed for those Epstein files, because the courts are demanding that they stop doing what they're doing and just release those files. Republicans are now also recalling for them to, the 25th Amendment, and now he's he's about to announce that he's committing election fraud again. So I was right about everything. But it's time now that this needs to be put an end to. This can't go on anymore. And I can't do anything about what's happening in America, but if I can reach the blimmin' king, then he needs to sit up and pay attention, because this is all coming back on him, and it doesn't look good for the king that his prime minister and the prime minister's party are assassinating people right under the king's nose, and assassinating people who are pro-monarchy. They're killing off people that are pro-monarchy, which is what they did in World War I and World War II. Right? So I'll speak to you later. Have a good evening. God bless Anne. Mwah.